Hello survivors and welcome to another Walking Dead Road to Survival video. In this video we are going to be going over the PlayersUnited response to the promises for the future post from Scopely, where Scopely outlined some promises for the future. I have already gone over this post from Scopely and just breaking it down and sort of giving my input, but this is going to be the official reply from the PlayersUnited movement, and as it says, it's posted by Sleepless, and it says, as previously stated by Bane, PlayersUnited is a group of dedicated players and community members hoping to see improvement in the game we all love so much. We stand united across numerous factions, and this has not changed. First, thank you Scopely for your response to the PlayersUnited movement, and thank you for your PlayersUnited coins recently sent out to all as well. It is appreciated and a positive step that you are addressing our concerns. There still does seem to be a disconnect between those issues we are majorly concerned with and what you are promising to occur in the future. The biggest concern of this movement, as mentioned in our initial post, is the great divide between free-to-play and pay-to-play players. And it quotes the original post by Bane. It says, in the past, players who were free-to-play had other avenues to still play at the top level with those who spent. We need to close this divide. We needed to do so in order to retain the player base of folks who feel like they can no longer compete and play at a comparable level. And it continues, we state this again because this is such a big concern and it is not addressed. This is not something we can simply wait 30 to 60 days to find out this problem still exists. A failure to not adequately update with characters that are relevant to players will result in more frustration in the community and result in more and more divide amongst the players. Concrete timelines will assist in reassuring that these issues are just as pressing to you as they are to us. There's a reply to the part about technical stability. This was highlighted that Scopely would be working more on these issues, but the game continues to have community members locked out as recently as this weekend's event. Many have had issues where they have been locked out of the game for several days. This caused them to miss out on milestones, rewards, daily roadmaps, league coins and other basic gameplay items. While it is appreciated and we have heard this is being reviewed, one item many members missed out on because of the lockout was daily roadmaps for collection items for Piper. These members deserve proper compensation, and the delay in receiving it, some had this occur over 3 weeks ago, means some may have missed out on the rewards from the Piper event because of the missed roadmaps. There also was a technical issue with the Hordes event that resulted in an additional Hordes event being cancelled. Though Scopely gave collectibles to try and compensate, the repercussions of this affected many aspects of the game. Not having the event meant many players were unable to complete pathway missions. This also affected their ability to complete roadmaps and their league standings too. In reply to the basic gameplay updates, you mentioned releasing new ascendables. For comparison, please see the following. In 2019, there were the following releases of 5-star legacy characters at the rate of 1 per every 41.4 days. Starting with Eric and finishing with Jackson, we've had 6 in the first 7 months of the year. Your response promises 3 more over the next 3 months. 1 every 30 days is not an improvement. For comparison, 2018 we had 19 ascendables released for an average of 1 every 19 days. These legacy characters have almost always been inferior in strength and stats to the current meta or the premier characters being offered. As mentioned above, it needs to be Scopely's goal to ensure those being released are helpful with the current meta and assist players. Communication section, it says this was highlighted that Scopely would be working to evolve this and have greater communication with the community. One topic that was never addressed was the CRW issue that occurred. A poll was made and the winning result was not taken and no explanation why not. While we understand you cannot always please every community member with your decisions, greater and more effective communication about this would have occurred with an explanation as to why the opinions asked were not listened to. We would expect and appreciate some acknowledgement and explanation to the issues that occur for players. Another concern was rewards, which was not addressed in your response. These have increasingly been less than satisfactory from the top to the bottom. If the prize is tokens towards a prize wheel pull, all factions need to be able to get enough tokens for at least 1 pull during the duration of the event. Those besides the top placing factions need this opportunity. One of the biggest examples of bad choices in prizes is the current war wheel. The characters being offered are not relevant. The wheel includes characters from over a year and a half ago, with one that was given out to players for free. Other prizes include the TWD tokens that allow you to gain pieces towards a museum collection, All of these pieces are completely RNG based. Someone who did one pull can pull the 10,000 tokens needed versus someone who actively is attempting to win events and does 10 and simply gets 100 each time. Prizes should actually be prizes and not chances to win a prize. An example of museum events done correctly in the past is the Marlon/Violet museum events. Players could win a set amount of tokens from prizes to choose which prize they wanted. When winning events, players want to win a prize like a character and not a chance to do so. Another example of events popular with the players were tournaments where top finishers were guaranteed character prizes. Those in the lower ranks also won crates with the possibility of the same prize as a 5-star. Lastly, another major issue is territories. The glitches and problems in this aspect of the game are infamous and long-standing throughout the community, and yet there is no specific mention of it in your proposed changes. It's hard to have faith when one of the oldest problems in the game is routinely ignored. While we are glad that Scopely recognises the validity of PlayersUnited and our concerns, the lack of any hard dates is unsettling to all players. We would appreciate a commitment that includes a feasible timeline. Though your response brings promise, we stand strong and stand united until we see actual improvements in the game and these main concerns addressed. Thank you. Players United, stay strong, fix the game. So I'm just going to highlight a couple of the things in here, and the first one is the biggest concern of this movement, as mentioned in our initial post, is the great divide between free-to-play and pay-to-play players. It does also mention that this was not addressed in any way in the promises, and I feel that it wasn't addressed because they have no plans to fix this divide. Basically, you can see with the recent release of Ryan, this is the first character to be released since the promises. This character widens the gap more than anything. And that's pretty much how the game actually makes its money. They have to bring out these money gouging characters regularly. Every week, we generally get 5 per month. We get 1 per week, but we also get the odd bonus one here and there where it's just a random side collection. Sometimes these characters aren't very good. Sometimes you get them, like Ivy for instance. She's the random side character, but she's still paywalled for whatever reason. And the issue here is this is the only way Scopely knows how to make money. They've got a very narrow game at the top, unfortunately. They've not created very good PvE experiences. They've not created anything else that anyone would really be able to spend money on. Tournaments to a certain extent, but characters is where they get their big payday. When you download any other game from the top 100 Play Store titles, you'll get a better PvE experience. You'll have a much more enjoyable experience of just gameplay. The new player experience in this game must be absolutely horrendous. To come into the game to see all these pay-to-win museum collections, all these pay-to-win roadmaps, so many things that you're just never going to be able to do unless you drop money. And this is just going to be a massive turn-off. And something else that just was not at all addressed was the fact that the new player experience is absolutely horrendous and it needs to be improved. The basic gameplay updates talking about the release of Legacy Ascendables. Obviously 6 Legacy Ascendables in the first 7 months of the year is not good at all. We should be getting 5 to 6 every 3 months so that we have an actual team of characters being released every 3 months, whether it be an offensive team or a defensive team, and these characters should work together. Right now on these 6 characters, I think the most you can actually get to work together is 2. You can only really get Eric and Douglas to work together on a defense team. Donnie and Rick do not work with those 2 characters. Sawyer and Jackson can work together on an attack team. You could potentially use Rick on that team as well, but you're not going to do anything with that attack team. That's going to be absolutely useless. These characters aren't really combating the meta when it comes to attacking. Sawyer and Jackson were dead on release, completely useless characters on release. There are some decent defensive characters in here. The first 4 were actually pretty decent, but I think these were rushed out and released to push spending within promos, because once a lot of free-to-play characters are given out that are actually pretty decent, you're going to actually have to spend to combat these. But 1 Legacy Ascendable every month, that means 2 viable teams a year is not good enough. It has to be every 3 months, especially considering the rate at which promos are released, which is 15 every 3 months. I think it's fair to say 5 every 3 months for Legacy Ascendables would actually be a pretty fair rate. And just to pinpoint something on the prizes, I don't think this is actually accurate. The Marlon Violet Museum events were actually pretty bad as well, in that you could get just under a character and not have anything else to spend it on. So you could become, someone who finishes in the top 50 every single event and not get anything from finishing in the top 50. The best one that we've had was the one for Conrad, and where we got crates as side rewards. That way newer players who came into the game, if they only finished in the top 1,000 or top 150 or whatever it is a couple of times, and they got maybe, 1,000 tokens, they'd be able to get 2 random crates. They'd have some progress. If you've got veteran players hitting first place a couple of times, They'd be able to get a character guaranteed. They'd be able to get some extra crates. I can't remember what the collectible was. I think it was like some sort of pink ice cream, if I remember right. But that was easily the best one we've had so far. And it seemed like everything was going in the right direction because it was progressing from like a bad standpoint with the Marlon and Rosie Lugnut situation. And then it progressed to this pink ice cream collection where you could, like I say, get a guaranteed character if you got enough points. But if you didn't get enough points and you just were in the top 100 multiple times, you could potentially just get the odd crate for some Ascendance medals, maybe the mods. I'm not sure what else there was. But it was at least you got something rather than getting absolutely nothing. So we'll see how this progresses, but I don't really hold very big hopes. This so far has just been very much a delay tactic from Scopely. 30 to 60 days to get this fixed. A lot of these issues need to be fixed like right now, in terms of there needs to be set dates. We need to have solid game plan being laid out to how these things are going to be addressed. Right now, it just sort of seems like they're just trying to push it to the edges, make us forget about issues. But on a daily basis, people are leaving the game still while these issues are not being addressed. The game is in a terrible state and you're not taking it seriously at all. Scopely, you need to wake up and fix your game before it's too late. It's definitely too late for a lot of people who are already left, but there are still a lot of players around that still do enjoy the game to a certain extent, but their time is slowly but surely running out. You're getting less and less new players to the game, and unless these issues are addressed quickly, 30 to 60 days is far too long, then it is definitely going to be lights out. And as the post says, Players United, stay strong, fix the game. That's the end of my video, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in, and as always, keep on surviving, guys. Keep on surviving.